Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com. Clutch with Keon Rose here on 92.7 FM. It's Tuesday, so we've got the power rankings. We've got the SEC power rankings, according to me. That's who. As we do on Tuesdays. Also, we got to talk about the NBA because it returns tomorrow, which I forget this all the time. Every year, the NBA returns, and it's a shock to me that it's back. Right? In large part because I am caught up in football season, and you've got football on 3 levels, pro, college, and high school, and you try and wrangle up all of this stuff by yourself and keep track of any other sport ever. You just can't do it. So, and I love the NBA. I'm a big NBA guy. I grew up in an NBA city. It's just, you can't keep track of it. So the NBA shows up, and I'm shocked that it's back, and then I realize, oh yeah, no, the NBA season, if you count the playoffs, ends in the middle of summer. It's the shortest break imaginable. Meanwhile, if you're a football fan, you spend most of your year suffering. You realize this, right? If you are a fan of football, you spend most of your year suffering, right? I don't know why we put up with football in the way that we do, but man, you spend most of the time waiting for it to come back. You got to enjoy it while it's here. So, yeah, the NBA season snuck up on me. There are a couple of NBA stories. I've been covering the NBA this offseason. It's just like the season starts tomorrow. And I was going down on Twitter, I was just going down my feed, and all the NBA teams were tweeting about being back. And I was like, wait, what? What do you mean back? You just ended. I actually do wish the NBA would go away a little longer. You don't even have time to miss it. Right? Like when football's gone, you miss it. And boy, in the middle of July, you really miss football. I mean, it is something else. When they roll out that Hall of Fame preseason game, we all watch it. We all watch it because it's football. Like you just gotta watch something. It's a desert after February. So anyway, we got the SEC power rankings, got the NBA news. But first I want to start talking about Butch Jones because I think Butch Jones is done. I do. I think he's done. And there is a way that Butch Jones can save his job. Beat Alabama. If Butch Jones beats Alabama, I feel like you have to keep him. But I feel like he's done. And the reason why I feel like Butch Jones is done has pretty much everything to do with the fact that he started off making the Vols good before he made them all the way bad. And I'm not sure how that happened. It was like a mid-season thing. We started off the season with a modicum of hope. Like you knew it could be a down year. But this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is a 3-3 football team that somehow feels worse than a 3-3 football team, right? And I was talking yesterday about how Nick Saban gets into full defense mode of teams that he is about to beat down and beat down bad. But he doesn't want you to underestimate the other team because then that makes him look bad. So Nick Saban starts defending you. That's not a good sign when Nick Saban feels the need to start defending you. If he feels the need to start defending you, you're not good. And that's exactly what's happening to Tennessee. Nick Saban is given the compliment that, well, Tennessee, well, they're one or two plays away from being 5-1. Fair enough. But more realistically, Tennessee is 1 or 2 plays away from being 1-5. 1-5, with one of those losses being to UMass. Got a little referee help to get past UMass. I will repeat this again. UMass. And I said that was going to be a benchmark game this season. I was not interested in how Tennessee did against other SEC schools. We know Butch Jones' record against the rest of the SEC. It's 14-21. It ain't good. I don't really care how Butch Jones does against the rest of the SEC. He wins enough in the conference to wind up with 7 or 8 games of victories. What I want to know is how it is that Butch Jones does against the teams that you feel like Tennessee ought to just smoke, right? Tennessee shows up, oh, here's this inferior program, and we just cave them in and keep walking. That's what ought to happen when you play UMass, who I should point out still does not have a victory yet this season, right? Like that's a victory that Tennessee got that they barely won that's looking worse and worse all the time. Looking worse all the time. UMass, right? I wanted to know how they were going to do against UMass, and I wanted to know how they were going to do against Indiana State. They played Indiana State. They gave Indiana State that work, and I thought, well, we've rounded a corner here. Here's Tennessee showing up against an opponent that they ought to beat down and crop dusting them for all that they're worth and moving on, right? Like that to me was a step forward, followed by UMass. Then you play Georgia. Georgia's your rival in conference, very familiar. You play these people all the time. Nick Chubb's been there for like 7 years. It feels like he's been there my whole life. Like it just feels like Nick Chubb has always been a Georgia Bulldog. Like, my God, how long are you going to keep playing football? You know these people. And you can't put up any points on them at all. None? None. It's like, yeah, Butcher Jones is done. He made the team somehow all the way bad. And what's worse is he doesn't seem to get it. Right? Like the loss to South Carolina is a very telling loss because South Carolina is not great. They're not bad. They're not bad, but they're not great. Right? Like South Carolina is, I would say, slightly below average because their offense is so inconsistent and they don't score consistently. And even on Saturday against Tennessee, they didn't score consistently. Tennessee's defense is actually very good. But when you are incapable of scoring a touchdown in 10 quarters of football, a lot of quarters of which were played in your house, in Neyland Stadium, if you can't score there, it's like the reverse Sinatra song, you can't score anywhere. You can't score there. You can't score anywhere. There is nowhere you can score. Where? You tell me. You tell me. So I think Butch Jones is done. Now, here's the thing. I don't think that Butch Jones should be fired mid-season. That looks bad. Nothing says we're on fire quite like a mid-season firing. For me, you fire somebody mid-season for misconduct, right? Like you fire someone mid-season for a scandal. You fire someone mid-season for cheating. You don't fire someone mid-season for being a bad coach. Because like firing Butch Jones is not about to fix any problems that Tennessee has here. Ride it out. Wait till this thing is over. And it's about to get worse before it gets better because you got Alabama next week. And I feel really bad for you. Like the threshold of hope, where is it now? You can't possibly have any. Knowing that Alabama is Alabama. And again, I said, Nick Saban is defending you. That's not a good sign. That is not a good sign. Nick Saban is trying to make sure that people don't look at you like you're Georgia Cumberland. Nick Saban is trying to make sure that they look at you and they don't see the University of Incarnate Word. Right? They don't look at you and see Chattanooga State Community College. He's trying to make this big, and it's not working. Right? Like he's not going to deceive any of us on this. He's run this so many times. But Nick Saban is the guy that tells the media the same thing every time and just expects us all to believe it. Right? And just because people nod at him in the press conferences because nobody wants to be the guy that Nick Saban yelled at that day. We don't believe you. Tennessee's bad, and everybody knows that they're bad. Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM, Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com. Which leads me into my power rankings. Because how bad do I think Tennessee is? Right? And I'm going to go from top to bottom. I was thinking about going at this in reverse order, but I feel like the bigger surprise is who's at the bottom of the list than who's at the top, right? Because like Alabama's at the top. It's number one, Alabama. Do I need to give reasons why Alabama is the best team in the SEC and the best team in the nation? Their defense, though not as good as last year, is still one of the best defenses in college football. Their offense is dynamic and is better than last year, to the point where even if their defense weren't good, Alabama would still be an incredibly difficult team to beat. How do you stop the way that team runs? Damian Harris is a monster. Jalen Hurts is also a ginormous factor in the running game, and he throws the ball well enough where you have to respect his arm. You have to give Jalen Hurts space when he's rolling out of the pocket, because if you just think that this guy's going to tuck it and run, he throws it well enough, and he's been much more accurate as a passer this year. He's developing and growing. I know a lot of people believe that maybe Tua Tagovailoa would come in, take the job from Jalen Hurts. Not so, my friend. Not so. And so, yeah, Alabama, they're great. What do you want me to say? What new thing can I present to you about Alabama? Next on the list, Georgia, whom I have also raved about ad nauseum. Georgia's fantastic. That defense is lights out. I love the speed that defense plays with. I mean, there's one thing to play with toughness. It's another thing to be just flat out fast. Freakishly fast. And they didn't exactly lock up Missouri. But let's be honest here. When you have a stable of running backs like they have, between Nick Chubb and Sony Michel, and to a lesser extent, Elijah Holyfield, you are going to be good at football. And if you had any of those three guys as running backs on your team, you turn around and hand them the ball a million times a game, too. Auburn is number 3, because while I think that, yeah, they lost to LSU and they choked the game away, I still think that Auburn's better than LSU is because of Jarrett Stidham. Gus Malzahn was saying that Jarrett Stidham is the most flexible quarterback he's ever worked with. That's true. Jarrett Stidham is not by any means a running quarterback, but the guy's got wheels. He can really move if he needs to. And then as far as the passing game goes and as far as the accuracy goes, Jarrett Stidham might be the most arm-talented quarterback that we've seen Gus Malzahn have, right? Maybe not in terms of the deep ball. It's not like he's just pushing the ball up the field, but he's incredibly accurate and keeps that offense on track and on pace most of the time. Now, they just fell apart, though I feel like, obviously, part of that was karma. I believe they were going to get bitten. You just don't start celebrating and taunting the other team when you're up 20-0 in the second quarter, like the game is somehow over or something. Number 4 is LSU. They did beat Auburn, but like I said, look, you've got Danny Etling. Danny Etling's got his limitations, and I watched LSU the week before last struggle to beat Florida. And I understand Florida's got a solid defense as well, but they looked bad, right? And the loss to Troy is still hanging around in there too, right? Like they did eventually get going against Troy, but it was too late. LSU has to put together complete football games or they can't win with the personnel that they currently have on offense, which is something that I imagine will change. Get that team a real quarterback, and they're going to be horrifying. Just truly a scary football team. Texas A&M is number 5, which at the beginning of the season, if you had told me that Texas A&M would be at any point near the top of this list, I would never have believed you, in large part because Kevin Sumlin's seat was so hot, it was burning me. That's an incredible level of focus that Kevin Sumlin has gotten his team to play with. They look good. They look poised. They can win with this Kellen Mond kid. Their defense is good. Like it's not world beater defense, but it's good. You don't just walk in there and score on them. They play complete football games this year, which is something that in the past they have not done. And we've actually quieted down on the Kevin Sumlin needs to go talk. Mississippi State, Dan Mullen, they are up and down, right? Like they have obvious limitations to their personnel, and I think that that's the problem there. I don't know. I look at them and I see like, okay, well, I see what they were trying to do. The game plan looks sound, and far be it from me to tell a sitting college football head coach how to run his game plans. I mean, to me, it looks like you've got the right idea. You're just not as talented as some of these teams that are working you. But when Mississippi State is the better team, they very often win. Kentucky is number 7 to me. They don't play a lick of defense, and I'm really not a huge fan of that. But they can score. Put Kentucky in a shootout, and they can hang with the best of them. And I, for one, appreciate a team that's just decided, you know what, this is what our identity is. We may not be able to play defense. There may not be a soul in this league we can stop. But if we can put up numbers on you, we'll be all right. Kentucky continues to win football games. Florida is number 8. I feel like by default, they are 4-2. They've won games. I don't really like talking about Florida. They're painful to watch offensively. Defensively, they are stout and they are sound, but that's been the book on Florida, is that even though their defense is great, Jim McElwain's an offensive coach, and you just have to ask, and I understand that you've got the suspensions and you're missing players and you're missing personnel, but my goodness, where is the O? You just lost the offense? I mean, where is it? It doesn't look bad. It's unwatchable. It makes my eyes bleed. Number 9, South Carolina. South Carolina doing enough to beat Tennessee. They get enough out of Jake Bentley every week to be able to put points on the board, but their offense isn't dynamic. I wouldn't even describe it as good as such. It's a very average offense in terms of its performance. But the defense is solid, as a Will Muschamp team ought to do, is to have a solid defense. So you really can't complain about that. And they do win games. Ole Miss, number 10. Didn't expect Ole Miss to crack the top 10 at the beginning of this season. But Matt Luke has his team hanging in there. Shea Patterson turns in scary performances every now and again, and they just trounced Vandy. And I thought Vandy was better than they were, but didn't look like it on Saturday. Shea Patterson ran through the Vanderbilt Commodores. And Ole Miss, scary because they can put up points on any given Saturday. Vandy, I have at 11. I feel like they're still a well-rounded football team, but again, you could just see in a lot of instances the talent is simply not there. I like Shermer. I like Ralph Webb. I don't know what to say about Vandy other than typical Vandy problems, which is that they are less talented usually than the teams that they are playing. Number 12 is Arkansas, underachieving. I wanted Arkansas to be a top 7, top 6 team this year. I'm very disappointed in how they've gone about this season. Brett Bielema, I'm not saying he has to go, but you really need to look at what this guy offers and figure out if there's someone you can have him add to his staff to boost the quality of this team. I think they're too talented to be this low on the list, but they aren't winning football games, so you don't get to be higher on the list. Number 13 is Missouri. Missouri is another one of these schools that I really like watching play offense when they play an opponent that they can actually score on. The problem is that Missouri, not unlike Kentucky, but I would say in a manner much worse than Kentucky, is really bad at defense. And everybody scores on Missouri. Like a lot. Like a lot. But my last team, and the team that it should be obvious, I haven't mentioned them. I think Tennessee's at the bottom of my power rankings, and I didn't want this for them. This is not what I wanted. I did not want to put them at the bottom of this list, but I was going down the list, and I thought to myself, well, which team in the SEC can I actually trust the Vols to beat right now? And I could not come up with a lot. Right? It hurt me to write that, but I couldn't come up with a lot. And they're going to get into the more conference-heavy part of their schedule. So I'm not entirely certain what to do now. Right? The part of their schedule that's going to get really tricky and really tough, that's what's left. And, you start going down the list of teams. Tennessee, as they have been playing of late, because I can't imagine, and it's very hard for me to anticipate that they're going to continue to play this badly for the rest of the season, though you never know. But Tennessee, as they have been playing of late, who in the SEC could they beat? Who in the SEC could you trust this team to score on and stop from scoring? Because they got Bama Saturday. They've got Kentucky the following week. And look, Kentucky's not a great defensive team. Tennessee's going to finally break through the wall and score some touchdowns there. And we're just praying right now that it's not going to be 14 quarters of Vols football and no touchdown. Because that's what we're hoping for. But I don't think they can outscore Kentucky. They play Southern Mississippi to win. Though, again, I look back at the UMass game and I go, well, I'm not so sure. They play Missouri. And, yeah, they can score on Missouri. on Missouri, but can you outscore Missouri? I'm not sure. I'm really not certain. Then they've got LSU, and they wrap the season up with Vandy. I'm not certain Tennessee can beat any of those teams right now. That's why they're at the bottom of the list. They're playing bad football. Clutch with Keon Rose on Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com, 92.7 FM.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. 3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
The charred remains of Logan Kennedy and Catlin Woods, 18 and 19 years old respectively, were found in a home in Bradley County on Sunday. The Highway 58 Volunteer Fire Department put out the house. It was fully engulfed in flames when they arrived on scene, to the point where they couldn't go inside to look for any survivors. By the time the home had been put out and cooled down, they found 2 bodies inside. They've been shipped off to the Hamilton County Medical Examiner's Office to determine the cause of death. The 5 high school football players in Grundy County accused of attempted aggravated rape are going to be placed on house arrest until their next court hearing on November the 15th. 3 of them have lawyers already. 1 had one appointed, and the 5th has asked for time to find a lawyer. The 5 are accused of assaulting a freshman in a field house at 6 o'clock a.m. on Monday. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 now.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News. NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at NoogaRadio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
Goss Insurance. Yes, we are local. And no, we don't have an 800 number. In fact, our mobile numbers are on our business cards. We live, work, play, and worship in Chattanooga, and we would love to help with your insurance. Business, auto, home, life insurance. Call now, save money. Call Goss Insurance for all your insurance needs. Goss Insurance, 875-2500. 875-2500.
Nooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM and 95.3 HD4. News Talk Nooga Radio.
You're listening to Nooga Radio 92.7 FM. Clutch with Keon Rose. NBA season is returning. Tiger Woods is comeback. And I feel like we know how this is going to go. Anyway, like we somehow don't know how this is going to go. Right. So, a bit of NFL news, because Aaron Rodgers is going to be out for a minimum of 8 weeks, a maximum of season-ending injury, right? So, and it's more likely the season-ending injury. If he's out 8 weeks, it may not even matter because you won't be in a position to make the playoffs if you don't have Aaron Rodgers. Now, that's not necessarily true. We've seen what happens in the NFC North. You have a bunch of teams that I think are more than talented enough for one of those teams to take reins of the division. None of them ever does. None of them ever does, right? You've just got the Lions who punch themselves in the face repeatedly. You've got the Vikings who defensively are I mean, the best third down and best red zone defense in the league. One of the top 5 defenses in the league. Can't get out of their own way because, I mean, the quarterback situation is not great, but Case Keenum's not playing bad football for them. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Case Keenum does not look terrible. But the injuries, they just can't seem to be not snake bit. They just have injuries stack up on them. And this was a problem for them last year, too. They were the best defense in the league, I believe, through the first 3 or 4 games of the season. And then injury after injury after injury after injury snuck up on them. And the next thing that you know, the Minnesota Vikings are back to being awful again, just dreadful. And that stinks because, like, I feel like as far as one of the ways that you can win in the NFL is you either have a franchise quarterback, which is risky and hard to find. Though I think if you take a college kid that's really good and give him his college system and obviously make it advanced enough for the NFL, if that player is a hard worker, generally speaking, because we're seeing it happen with too many quarterbacks now, for that to not be the case. But anyway, the claim there is that it's too hard to find a franchise quarterback. It's almost easier to build a whole defense. Which that's true, because evaluating individual defensive players is easier than evaluating a quarterback, his skill set, what fits, what works, and can he handle the pressures of essentially diagnosing every single play what a defense is showing him time after time after time. If you have an elite defense and an average quarterback, you give yourself a chance, right? The Broncos have proven that you can do this. The Ravens in 2000 have proven that you can do this as well. And I would argue that the Seattle Seahawks, the first time they went to the Super Bowl with Russell Wilson, also proved this, because Russell Wilson, I mean, look at his numbers. That's average guy numbers, right? Russell Wilson was not a world beater, but they didn't need him to be. I'm not saying he was a game manager, but he was like steps above game manager. So they didn't need him to be all that, right? So that being said, I don't necessarily have a problem with Russell Wilson. Not with Russell Wilson. I don't necessarily have a problem with them going with Case Keenum, but the injuries cannot stack up. Dalvin Cook, injured. Stephon Diggs, injured. And it's just, when is Minnesota going to get to catch a break? And you see the NFC North really, really just collapse on itself time after time after time. The Bears are terrible. We need to talk about the Bears as an actual contending prospect, so much as you need to talk about the Bears as in, do they have something in Mitchell, don't call me Mitch Trubisky, or not? Because if they do, then they're good for the future. If they don't, well, then they don't. But as far as this year goes, you're the Packers. You're like, well, if we find a competent enough quarterback to hang in there, maybe Rodgers returns in 8 weeks, or maybe that guy takes us on a run. Right? Now, you're going to need a guy who can absolutely ball at the quarterback position, right? Like, there's no doubt about it. Aaron Rodgers is the be-all and end-all of the Green Bay Packers. He is the everything for that team. You really don't have much of a chance. And so, like, there's an idea there that's been brewing in the minds of many people that there's a phone call that the Green Bay Packers need to make. And that phone call is Tony Romo out of retirement. Now, you're not going to find a bigger Tony Romo stand than me. I'm a guy that has defended Tony Romo to the death, and I'm a Redskins fan, and I have to defend Tony Romo to the death because I have a functioning pair of eyeballs, and I can see the guy's great. Like, I think Tony Romo is not a good quarterback. I thought he was a great quarterback, and that the Cowboys were trash the entire time he was there, not because of him. Like, the only reason why the Cowboys were ever watchable, competing for NFC East titles, competing for playoff spots, is because they had Romo. And yes, Romo is going to throw the interception that will kill you. But they put the team on his back to the point where they broke it. Yeah. Romo for all of the struggles of the Cowboys. It's like, really, you ask me to carry you through 3.5 quarters. You give me no running game. You give me no offensive line. And it wasn't until late in my career that you gave me Dez Bryant and expect me to not make any mistakes at crucial points in games. And by the way, the man has more fourth quarter comebacks than anybody during his time playing in the league. And yet we're going to sit here and act like, nah, he was never a good quarterback, and no, he wasn't clutch. How does that make any sense whatsoever? So yeah, I'm a big Tony Romo defender. But really, you're going to go try and pull a guy who has not been training, who has not been exercising, who has not been working out, out of retirement to come back and play a sport that has injured him on darn near an annual basis. How much sense does that make? No, it doesn't matter that he's from Wisconsin and that he grew up rooting for the Packers. It absolutely doesn't matter. It's not like Tony Romo is injury averse himself, right? Like Aaron Rodgers injured his collarbone. Oh, Tony Romo had that injury twice, along with an ankle, along with his back twice. How do you think this is going to go? It's not like you have the offensive line to keep this guy upright, right? Like the advantage that you have when you have Aaron Rodgers is a guy whose mobility extends plays and makes things better for you. Not particularly injury prone, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, who's taken his fair share, and I would say more than his fair share of shots over the course of his career. And I understand you got to make some kind of phone call because you're in a division you can win if you've got a decent enough quarterback to make plays for you. But Romo, and I like Romo, but Romo, for real, I like Romo. But dude's been in retirement. And look, I feel like if you give the right price tag to it, he would come back. He would come back. He loves the game. And all guys miss the game. But why do you think John Gruden has never come back to coach? Clutch with Keon Rose on Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com, 92.7 FM, talking about the Packers trying to fill their quarterback need. But I'm asking you a question that I think is relevant. Why do you think John Gruden never came back to coach? You think the opportunity never presented itself? There were plenty of good situations that have presented themselves. Some bad ones too, but plenty of good situations that presented themselves. And John Gruden, coach, because TV money at the top of the TV game is great money. Great money. And nobody is yelling at you, and nobody is shouting at you, and nobody is trying to get you fired. You just make money to talk about football. Right? Now, I don't know where Tony Romo falls on the competitive scale, where like if he has the opportunity to come back, it doesn't matter what the price tag is. Bam, I'm coming back. Right? I don't know if Romo's got that. And Romo always said he wanted to retire a Cowboy. So like that's also a thing too. But I don't know if he's got that. Just bam, pull me off the bench, coach. I don't know if he's got that in him. And I would assume that he would have less of that in him because Tony Romo went from an NFL career to the top of the TV game, right? CBS is one of the tops of the TV game, right? Fox, NFL Network, ESPN, these are the tops of the TV game. And Tony Romo went to the top of the TV game, which means the TV money is nice. TV money is nice. Nobody is yelling at you, shouting at you, relying on you in that kind of way, depending on you in that kind of way, trying to tackle you ever. Why would you walk away from that? Why would you walk away from that to go back to guys are relying on me to win? I don't know what the Packers offense looked like. I would just have to show up and figure out how to play. Why would he do that? Why would that make any sense? I don't know. Again, if Tony Romo was to pull me off the bench coach kind of dude, then Tony Romo would absolutely entertain the idea, and I'm sure the Packers would love to have him because of the track record. I would still say that a guy who hasn't trained in months because he has been trying to be a broadcaster, that would not be the guy that I would just throw to the wolves to try and carry my football team to a playoff berth, but that's just me. So who should they call? And I think you know who I think that they should call. They won't call him. They won't call him. But you know who I think that they should call. I think they should call Colin Cowherd. Right? Now, yeah, your fans might be pissed off at you. Your fans might be mad at you. And there is a certain level of we're keeping Colin Kaepernick out of the league because he was the first guy that protested. He was the canary in the coal mine, and now we're punishing him for it. That guy would help your football team, though. He's the best available quarterback that you can find. He has been training and keeping in shape. He is athletic. He has played the game of football. He's got a very strong arm, can make those throws in the cold months up there in Green Bay, up there in Wisconsin. He can absolutely do it. He can absolutely do it. So now the question is, Mr. Kaepernick or Mr. Romo? And I would say that Kaepernick is, at this point, is vaguely more qualified, if not for the only reason that he's actually in playing shape. Right? And by the way, Colin Kaepernick has played behind bad offensive lines before. Never bothered him much. He's mobile, so that's going to help. Threw 18 touchdowns last year on a partial season. If you really wanted to win, you'd put aside whatever it is that you have against Colin Kaepernick, or what other opinions you have. You would put that aside, and you would sign him so that you could win. Or you and your fans can be miserable while the Lions go 9-7 and make the playoffs, and not you. That's the other option that you got going for you. So you can choose whichever one you want. I'm just leaving out options. That's what I'm about. I won't tell you how to run your organization, but I will tell you those are the options. And one of those options is less stupid than the other option. Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM, Nooga Radio, and NoogaRadio.com. So the NBA season starts, and so I just want to just run down some NBA news because there are some things that I saw about the NBA season beginning that absolutely bothered me and make me just apoplectic in a way that I don't understand how to explain to you fully. So let me go into it, right? One, ESPN puts out their NBA promo, and they snub my guy, John Wall. I'm not going to go too far into this because I feel like it's very self-aggrandizing, but I like John Wall, okay? I'm a Wizards fan. And how I root for sports, this is how I choose the best player. Not the best player, but my favorite player in a given sport. He is the best player on my favorite team. That is how I watch sports, right? So my favorite player in hockey, I like the Capitals. My favorite player is Alexander Ovechkin because he's a legend and he is the best player and has been for years the best player on my favorite team. Even though that kid, Evgeny Kotsianov, is, whoa. But he's the best player on my favorite team. So I saw the ESPN promo stuff for the year, and I thought it was mighty disrespectful that Mr. John Wall's face did not appear anywhere on that thing. I thought it was very disrespectful because obviously, people don't like to talk about the Wizards as any particular trendy pick for anything. But man, okay, the Eastern Conference is so depleted now. He's clearly the top 3 player in the Eastern Conference. I mean, it's obvious. Might be the second best player in the East. Yes. Because there's nobody in the East. So how do you leave that guy off of your promotional material? Get it together, 4-letter. So that's ESPN for you. They're just absolutely just making you insanely upset. So then they have that. There was some news that the Cavs were going to show a Kyrie Irving tribute video before the game, and I was just like trying to understand why. I understand that Kyrie brought you a ring. I understand that the circumstances under which Kyrie Irving left were not great circumstances. I understand that it's very easy for a team and a city to be salty when a guy demands a trade, or even when he walks away as a free agent. But to my knowledge, Kyrie Irving is still alive. And to my knowledge, Kyrie Irving, at the tender age of 25, has not yet retired from the league. What are you making a tribute video for? What are you making a tribute video for? Tribute for what? man. What are you making a tribute video for? I don't understand. Tribute for what? He's still alive and he's still in the league. Tribute his time in Cleveland. Do that when he retires. Appreciate that when he retires. It'll still be true when he retires. That guy's your enemy. Now, for me, I know that older players have a problem with guys being friends, being buddy-buddy with each other in the league. But that, to me, doesn't make any sense. A lot of these guys grow up playing basketball against each other. A lot of these guys play against each other all the time, and you just build a relationship, build a mutual respect between guys. And who else knows what you're going through in your life other than another basketball player, really, right? Like, that's the reason why athletes tend to hang out with athletes. And by the way, that's the same reason that actors and actresses in Hollywood tend to all gather and date each other. Who else is going to understand what you go through except another person who does what you do? So I understand why these guys would be friends. But the organization? The organization? No. How does that work? Like, the organization is sitting here being all buddy-buddy with Kyrie Irving. Like, nah, he betrayed you, man. He walked away. He was under contract with you. Right? That was the thing. He was under contract with you, and then he decided, even though he was under contract with you, he no longer wanted to be under contract with you. You don't owe Kyrie Irving a tribute video, especially since your fans might boo through the entire tribute video. This is the same group of people who decided that they were going to burn LeBron's jersey, considering the possibility that LeBron James might come back, and then had to eat a substantial amount of crow. They had to eat a substantial amount of crow. Seems unnecessary. Don't let the fans make fools of themselves if they want to, but you don't have to make a tribute video. What, Kyrie understands that he was appreciated in Cleveland? I mean, he isn't appreciated there now. How much sense does that make, man? How much sense does that actually make? But with Keon Rose on Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com, 92.7 FM. So one of the things that I thought was interesting, we always have to have this discussion, like, what is the best portion of the sports calendar? Right? Like, what is the best time on the sports calendar? And I would have to say, one of the best times on the sports calendar has to be now, because of all the leagues that are coming back. And if you watch a lot of different sports like I do, this has to be one of your favorite times on the sports calendar, right? You've got football in full swing, which is the best time of the year for football for me, anyway. Mid-season football. The NBA is beginning. That's the second best part of the NBA season, is the first week or so of the NBA. And then you really don't have to pay attention to it until summertime, when the playoffs start, when the second season starts, and all the teams that you knew were going to make the playoffs make the playoffs. So I get all that. It's worth it. And you got the baseball playoffs. And baseball's playoffs, so that's the best part of the baseball season. October is just the best time to watch baseball. It's the best quality baseball. It's the highest stakes baseball. That's what I want. That's what I like. all three of these seasons sort of being in either the best or second best phases of their year makes this one of the competing times for the best times on the sports calendar, right? The other time that you would have to think about, like other times on the sporting calendar, wind up having individual events, right? Like that is my actual favorite time on the sports calendar, me personally, because you are promising me a lot of college hoops, just a ton of college hoops. And for me, that nothing tops that. Nothing tops that. When I get to sit down and watch so much basketball that it is insane. I love it. I love it. And every year I give out my tips for how you weasel out of work to enjoy the college hoops. I've never been thanked for, but you're still very welcome. I don't do this for your thanks. I do this because I know that the people need me. So I got all that. But in terms of just the sheer amount of sports happening at any one time, I mean, this has got to be it, right? You've got college football, pro football, hockey, if you're into hockey, and the Preds trying to pick up on a season that was pretty remarkable to start with. The NBA season beginning. And we are going to do a preview of the Atlanta Hawks in the second hour of the show. But this, to me, is, in terms of just sheer volume, the best part of the sports calendar. You can't deny that it is a buffet of things for you to choose from. Right? Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. And more is better when it comes to sports. Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM, Nooga Radio, and NoogaRadio.com.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. 3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
The charred remains of Logan Kennedy and Catlin Woods, 18 and 19 years old respectively, were found in a home in Bradley County on Sunday. The Highway 58 Volunteer Fire Department put out the house. It was fully engulfed in flames when they arrived on scene, to the point where they couldn't go inside to look for any survivors. By the time the home had been put out and cooled down, they found 2 bodies inside. They've been shipped off to the Hamilton County Medical Examiner's Office to determine the cause of death. The 5 high school football players in Grundy County accused of attempted aggravated rape are going to be placed on house arrest until their next court hearing on November the 15th. 3 of them have lawyers already. 1 had one appointed, and the 5th has asked for time to find a lawyer. The 5 are accused of assaulting a freshman in a field house at 6 o'clock a.m. on Monday. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7. Now.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
Power Hour News at noon and 9 being brought to you by Greg's Sandwich Works, featuring the best cuts of meats for your sandwich. Greg's Super Spuds, wraps and the most delicious salads in Chattanooga. Greg's Sandwich Works, 6337 East Brainerd Road, Chattanooga.
Agent, Goss represents more than 50 of the leading companies. Goss does the shopping and you save. Goss Insurance for your auto, business, home, and life insurance. 875-2500 Goss Insurance.
Hey, dude, check this out. Have you ever seen one so big?
Whoa, look at the size of that.
Look at this little itty-bitty one.
Wow, that's really small.
They have them big, small, and everything in between. You'll always find the biggest variety of knives at the knife shop at Frost Cutlery in Ottawa. We're talking about over 40 brands of knives, including Benchmade, W.R. Case & Sons, Booker, and all the Frost Cutlery brands. Now, Sam, you've been to the cutlery shop. Is it amazing?
Spectacular. The knife shop at Frost Cutlery in Ottawa. They have knives, swords, kitchen knives, ammo, and reloading supplies, plus survival gear.
It's the knife shop at Frost Cutlery, open 7 days a week. Hey, girls, you're going to love this. We're going to the knife shop. Hey, let's not tell them they have ammo and loading supplies. The Knife Shop at Frost Cutlery opens 7 days a week. You'll always find the biggest variety of knives. You're going to love the Knife Shop at Frost Cutlery in Ottawa. The Knife Shop.
And tell them David Tulis sent you.
Hi, this is Eric Felton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. 332-3339.
He's doled out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, cash, cash. We interrupt this commercial to bring you an important announcement. Rick Davis National TV Show, reaching over 80 million people nationally and internationally. Check your local listing for air times. Rick Davis hasn't gone Hollywood. He's gone Chattanoogan. And Hollywood loves it. And so will you. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds debut show. See Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds Brainerd Road now. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. The autographs are free.
Hey, Mom.
Yes, Summer.
I know what I'd like to do for Christmas this year.
What would you like to do?
Take shoe boxes full of goodies to the homeless military veterans.
What would go into these shoe boxes?
Toothbrushes, toothpaste, dental floss, deodorant, chapsticks, shampoo, soap, hand warmers, hand sanitizer, socks, gloves, toboggans, small Bibles, blankets, snacks, and cough drops.
Where can people donate these items?
Alpine Crest Elementary School, Sonic on Hickson Pike next to Frontrunner, Chick-fil-A in Northgate Mall in Hickson, and Nooga Radio below Goss Insurance across from Bojangles on Hickson Pike.
When will we distribute the shoe boxes?
On November 10th from 11 to 12:30 and December 15th from 10:30 to 12:30 at the Community Kitchen on East 11th Street, downtown Chattanooga.
Please help us in donating these items for our shoebox campaign. No veteran should ever go homeless.
Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News. NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at NoogaRadio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
WBLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga,
92.7, digital FM 95.3 HD4.
Chattanooga.
A bipartisan deal to help make a health care fix.
We think it's a good solution.
The latest Trump travel ban is challenged in court.
The feds now will appeal this to the Supreme Court if they have to.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Dave Barrett. Might be a way to make changes in the nation's health care. Senators from both sides of the aisle think they may have come up with an agreement. CBS's Mola Lenghi explains.
Two key senators say they've reached a breakthrough deal on a short-term health care fix.
Trying to take a small, limited, bipartisan step that will avoid chaos, again, to keep premiums lower and make sure that all Americans have access to insurance.
Republican Lamar Alexander and Democrat Patty Murray hashed out an agreement that would keep federal payments flowing to health insurers after President Trump pulled the plug last week.
In the White House Rose Garden today, President Trump.
This is a short-term deal because we think ultimately block grants going to the states is going to be the answer.
This agreement might keep federal payments going for 2 more years. The plan would retain protections for Americans who have pre-existing conditions, but there's no indication that this proposal will come up for a Senate vote. Another travel ban from the administration, another legal challenge. CBS's Bill Rakoff.
The ruling by the federal court in Hawaii says the latest attempt by the administration at restricting immigration from security risk countries is just as flawed as the previous ban, in that it doesn't provide that nationality alone portrays a heightened security risk to the U.S. Judge Derek Watson's order blocking the ban also points out the inconsistency, saying that some countries that don't meet the qualifications of the ban are not on the list this time. The latest travel ban was to have taken effect tomorrow.
Andrew Cohn, CBS's senior legal analyst, looks ahead.
It's another nationwide injunction, which means until and unless it is overturned, the travel ban 3.0 can't go into effect. So we now are going to see a flurry of litigation in the next few hours, even as the case goes up the ladder, probably all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
On Wall Street. When the closing bell rang, the Dow was at another record high, 22,997. After a gain of 40. Early on, the Dow did go over the 23,000 mark for the first time. CBS business analyst Jill Schlesinger, will the numbers keep going up?
There is general belief that corporate earnings will continue to deliver and that global economic growth has picked up enough. And if you put that together with a low interest rate environment, you've got a good combination for stocks to do well.
S&P at a record 25.59, rose a point today. The NASDAQ down a fraction. Allegations against Amazon Studios chief Roy Price have led to his resignation. Reportedly, Price had sexually harassed Isa Hackett, a producer working on one of Amazon's series. Last week, Amazon said it was severing ties with the Weinstein Company after the scandal erupted over Harvey Weinstein's alleged conduct. Now this.
I'm Jay Farner from Quicken Loans. A 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.875%, APR 4.05%. But choosing the right mortgage lender means choosing much more than just a rate. Let me ask you, does calling the company with the best client service in America, with 11 J.D. Power Awards to prove it, matter? Does calling the company that invented Rocket Mortgage, the industry's most innovative, client-focused technology, matter? Does calling the company with 17,000-plus team members who are helping to rebuild the great cities of Detroit and Cleveland matter? Of course it matters. No wonder our clients have made Quicken Loans America's #1 online lender. Call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com for the best mortgage experience on earth. Quicken.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Congressman Tom Marino won't be the country's next drug czar.
The president says it was Tom Marino's call.
Tom Marino said, look, I'll take a pass. I have no choice.
He tells Fox News Radio the Pennsylvania congressman had a conflict of interest.
There was a couple of articles having to do with him and drug companies. And I will tell you, he felt compelled.
60 Minutes and the Washington Post reported how Marino joined with others in Congress to weaken the DEA's ability to crack down on suspicious opioid shipments. It was a move urged by drug manufacturers and drug distributors. CBS News, the White House.
Allegedly, they were in on serious drug distribution now, says Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein.
For the first time, we have indicted major Chinese fentanyl traffickers who've been using the internet to transport fentanyl and fentanyl analogs to drug traffickers and to individual customers in the United States.
It's the CBS.
3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
The charred remains of Logan Kennedy and Catlin Woods, 18 and 19 years old respectively, were found in a home in Bradley County on Sunday. The Highway 58 Volunteer Fire Department put out the house. It was fully engulfed in flames when they arrived on scene, to the point where they couldn't go inside to look for any survivors. By the time the home had been put out and cooled down, they found 2 bodies inside. They've been shipped off to the Hamilton County Medical Examiner's Office to determine the cause of death. All players in Grundy County accused of attempted aggravated rape are going to be placed on house arrest until their next court hearing on November the 15th. 3 of them have lawyers already. 1 had one appointed, and the 5th has asked for time to find a lawyer. The 5 are accused of assaulting a freshman in a field house at 6 o'clock a.m. on Monday. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7. Now.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News. NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at Noogaradio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to Nooga Radio and Noogaradio.com. Clutch with Keon Rose. Hour number 2 of the show. I think we're going to stay away from Tennessee football. It feels like a very sore subject right now. It's not my favorite thing to talk about when a team is not good. When a team that is local is not good. It's not fun. It's not fun. I like to start the hype train. I don't like to stay on the hype train if the hype train's going to crash, though. That's not a good place to be. So we're going to talk about Tiger Woods, because Tiger Woods is planning yet another comeback. He's planning another comeback. And honest to goodness, I feel like we all know where this ends. It's going to end with Tiger Woods playing in some golf tournament and not winning. And then all of a sudden his back is going to give out because Tiger Woods is just a competitive guy and can't stand that he's in a golf tournament that he can't win. And then he goes to the back, and then he pulls out of the tournament. And then he disappears for another 8 to 9 months. And then he shows up again, planning another comeback. Now, there are some people that have a problem with Tiger Woods doing this. There are fans of golf who just, and I would say fans of any sport, that you can't stand to watch your legends fall apart. It's hard to look at. Right? It's hard to look at Joe Montana stinking up the joint in Kansas City. That's a hard one to watch. The end of Joe Montana was not pretty. The end of Brian Urlacher was not pretty. Dude could not tackle anybody. He just couldn't do it. Right? Pick a running back you like. Most of them played a hair or two too long and just weren't gaining yards anymore and still wanted to play. But, like, how could they? How could they play? They weren't gaining yards anymore. They weren't good. That's what we're trying to figure out with Adrian Peterson, by the way. Is Adrian Peterson the old man who should just get out of here? Or does he still have something? And it appears as though Adrian Peterson still has some tread left on the tire. Overwhelmingly, when you get caught by Father Time, it's hard to watch, right? The only thing that made Peyton Manning's end, the end of his career, bearable is that he ended it with a Super Bowl. He ended it playing on a team that was good enough to carry him to his second championship of his career. And he got to be a Cowboy, and he got to ride off into the sunset, a Super Bowl champion. Peyton wanted it. If somebody would have given Peyton Manning money to be their quarterback the following year, he would have gone there because he thought that he could still play. But we all saw what was happening to Peyton Manning. He looked old. He looked really, really old. And that's hard to watch. And it's hard to watch when you look at a game like golf, because it's an individual sport. And when you see a guy like Tiger Woods is not just of golf. He's revolutionized it, right? You look at a lot of these golf courses now, a lot of these golf courses are much longer golf courses than they used to be. You have to be some kind of powerful guy to go out there and dominate a lot of these golf courses. And when you look at some of the top players in the game, they're strong guys who can hit the ball very far, right? Jason Day, Rory McIlroy, guys that just have so much length in their game. That is a direct result of Tiger Woods being Tiger Woods. So it's hard to watch him just be awful. It is. But to me, I understand that it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch for me too. It is. Right? You grew up watching Tiger Woods. Me and my dad, like every Sunday, we watch golf. The reason why I watch golf to this day, and I am 27 years old, and I can't find another person my age that just likes to sit down and watch golf. The reason why I sit down and watch golf to this day is because Tiger Woods. And then I gained the patience to sit down and watch the game. The game is wonderful to watch if you understand what you're looking at. But that's because of Tiger. So it's hard. It's really hard for me to just watch Tiger Woods stink up the joint. But I've said this forever, and I will continue to say it. Legends have earned the right to stink up the joint. Legends have earned the right to play until no one will allow them to play any longer, right? And it does. I don't care if it ruins your memory. Here's the thing about memory. The further we get away from that person's career, the more the good stuff rises to the top. The more the good stuff just bubbles to the top. We're going to gain enough distance one day from the career of Tiger Woods to remember the greatness of Tiger Woods, right? There are people who still think that even though Joe Montana ended his career in Kansas City being an awful quarterback, we'll still sit there and tell you Joe Montana is the greatest quarterback of all time. Yes, even better than Brady, which I just think is outlandish and preposterous at this point. But if you want to cling on to that, there's a reason why you want to cling on to that, because you have enough distance between you and Joe Montana's career that you remember the greatness of Joe Montana and not any of the bad stuff, right? It's the reason why no one is ever going to surpass Michael Jordan, because we don't remember when Michael Jordan was a wizard. There's a very small part of his career, but we don't remember when Michael Jordan was a wizard. You can't beat a ghost. We will remember the ghost of Tiger Woods when his career is done. And Tiger Woods has done so much, that's going to be an impressive legacy. It's going to be an impressive legacy. And so I think that while Tiger Woods still has the ability to play golf, even badly, if he wants to play it, he should play it. If he wants to keep going for it, he should go for it. Because the other option is quit because other people want you to quit. Quit because other people want you to protect the legacy that you have in their mind. You're too old to play golf at all, much less badly, and you wish you would have. It's the worst kind of regret. It's the absolute worst kind of regret that there is. Not the regret that you did something and failed. Not the regret that you did something and stank. The regret that you did not try to do something that you could have and should have tried. This is why it's important to tell kids you got to follow your dreams. Why? Because you're one day going to be an old person and you're going to look back on your life. And I'm telling you, the stuff that, and I'm 27. What on earth do I know? I have been told by people older than me. You learn from the wisdom of people older than you. People older than me have told me the stuff that haunts you the most is the stuff you wish you would have tried to do. That's the worst. So if you're Tiger Woods and you still think you've got a little something left in the tank, even if you do it and you do it badly, it would be better than you not trying at all. Now, it's not going to look better than you not trying at all. We're going to all roll our eyes. Oh, here comes Tiger Woods with that golf comeback thing again. But Tiger Woods has been so great over such a long period of time and has done so much for the game of golf in terms of raising the average person's salary of every golfer, in terms of changing golf courses into things that are now exciting on a level that we would never have witnessed before. Tiger Woods has done so much for the game of golf that he deserves to play until he feels like he can't play anymore, right? Until he no longer qualifies for any tournament, then he's got to stop, right? And I thought that of Peyton Manning. If Peyton Manning wanted to come back to another team and another team were willing to pay him at the end of his career, get out there, man. Get out there and do it. Go out there and play until people tell you, no, get out of here. Do it until then. Or you're going to regret it. I don't think anybody ought to live with regrets, especially regrets of stuff they could have tried, right? It's one thing to live with regrets of failure. I don't know how you fix that. I don't know how you fix that. And there's a lot of factors that apply into failure. It doesn't cost anything to try. It doesn't cost anything to give something a shot. It really doesn't. It costs nothing. Costs absolutely nothing. Just try. People should try. And don't worry about what it might look like. If you feel like you need to do it, you've got to try to do it. You've got to try to do it. You will regret it for the rest of your life. Right? I don't think that Joe Montana regrets it. I think that Joe Montana had some great Kansas City moments as well, including beating the 49ers. Played one of the all-time great revenge games of all time. I don't think that Joe Montana regrets continuing to play until he couldn't play. What he might have regretted is when the 49ers told him to go away, he went away. That I think he would have regretted. Clutch with Keon Rose on Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com. We're not really talking about it all. Kevin Sumlin. Like, we're not talking about Kevin Sumlin, Texas A&M at all. And I don't know what that means. Are we not talking about Kevin Sumlin because Kevin Sumlin is safe? Like, he's done enough to keep his job? I mean, provided that they stay the course and have a good season as they have been having? Does he get to keep his job, or are we just not talking about it because it's just a foregone conclusion that he's gone no matter what he does? Because that's what it felt like at the beginning of the season. It's a foregone conclusion. Kevin Sumlin's going to be gone no matter what he does. But the issue, too, is there's a certain level of imploding that we suspected might happen because Kevin Sumlin was guaranteed to be fired. Like, there was a thought, well, no matter what he does, he's lost his job, right? And usually when that edict gets passed down to somebody, things get terrible for them. Things get downright awful. And he doesn't look awful. They look good. He doesn't look awful. That team looks like an actual football team. Texas A&M, actually enjoyable to watch on Saturdays. I never thought I'd say that. I watched Texas A&M play Alabama, and Alabama was beating A&M fairly soundly. It's not like Texas A&M, it's not like the Aggies had a chance, right? But when I was watching that game, I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the fact that A&M continued to battle. I enjoyed the fact that Kellen Mond was throwing these, like, he threw this one touchdown as he was falling sideways to a receiver that was falling sideways in the end zone. And then you had to go to the review. Like, did he get both feet down? Because A&M was trying to score touchdowns against Bama. And that looks like a school that, even though their head coach has been given the edict by his athletic director that, like, something big better happen here, this dude's gone. it looks like a school that's still playing for their coach, which is insane. Because if you had to choose between that being Tennessee or A&M, which school halfway through the season would look like they were still playing for their coach, I would have told you Tennessee. In fact, there are a lot of coaches that I think now have hotter seats than Kevin Sumlin. And again, that did not seem possible this summer. When your athletic director all but comes out and says, look, he's going to have to do a lot. He's going to have to do way more. And he knows that, right? Like you almost wonder which is worse, because athletic directors do two things that make you feel like if you're a head coach, you're done. One is the athletic director does what they did to Kevin Sumlin, which does not happen often, but does happen, where the athletic director comes out and all but says they are firing you, right? Kevin Sumlin's buyout for his contract is insane. So they're going to ride it out so that they don't have to pay him more money to not coach football, because nobody likes doing that. So that's a problem, right? But more problematic than that, if you're a coach, is when they give you the vote of confidence. When they tell the media and they tell the fans that, no, man, you're good. You're not going anywhere. That's worse. Because that means that there's even a question that you're not safe at all. And they don't want to start controversy, so they are lying. And if they are lying about that, you can't trust anything else that they say. And now you start panicking for the rest of the season. The vote of confidence is worse than the athletic director just straight up showing up and telling you you're done. In fact, I feel like the athletic director saying that Kevin Sumlin was done has taken an enormous amount of pressure off of the man. Like, look, no matter what I do here, I'm toast. What if I just coach the best season that I could coach? Make this thing look good. Maybe I wind up getting hired by somebody else. Maybe I can still get another head coaching gig somewhere. It's possible. And it looks like that's the case. If Texas A&M decides to part with Kevin Sumlin's going to get paid to have a job somewhere. And I think he will be paid well to have a job somewhere. Because when a guy's performing well after being told all basically, look, win the West or you're done, that looks good on you. There's no pressure. And if they decide to keep you, they keep you. Where the pressure comes in is when the guy says, no, you're fine. Because now you have to prove that you're fine, even if you're not fine. And Tennessee, they're not fine. Florida, you could make the strong argument that they're not fine, but I feel like they've won enough football games to where it's fine. Like Florida has extenuating circumstances. And I will say this about Florida, and I will say this about Rebecca Wade. They are always under some kind of extenuating circumstances. Like there's always something going on with Florida, right? Like, oh, our quarterback transferred, and we just don't have a quarterback, and we got to get a graduate transfer, and we've got players suspended. There's always some built-in excuse to Florida's season as to why it is that they are not living up to expectations. Because say whatever it is that you want about Georgia, I picked Georgia to win the East. But a lot of SEC media members at SEC Media Days, and I would say most of them actually, picked Florida to win the East. And that's not at all illogical. That's not to make fun of or poke fun at all the other members of the SEC media. Florida's been winning the East, right? Despite all odds. That last year, we all thought it was Tennessee. Florida won the East. The year before, we all thought it could be Tennessee or Georgia. Florida won the East. So, like, why would you suddenly start picking against Florida? But they're not good. You're Tennessee. You're Florida. You're South Carolina, and you have to come up with reasons as to why it is that you're not winning all the football games that you can win. Now, South Carolina, you're in year 2 of Muschamp, so he's going to get more of a pass. You're going to get, but Georgia's in year 2 of Kirby Smart. Like, you got a lot of questions to answer for when your athletic director comes out and gives you the dreaded vote of confidence, because the dreaded vote of confidence says everything is fine, even when everything is not at all fine. And you now have to prove to the world through your coaching ability. You now have to prove to the world through your skills that everything is not fine, even if the cards are stacked against you, even if everything is in fact not fine, even if you have a downturn of talent. You don't know which of your quarterbacks is your good quarterback. All of these things you need to figure out. And your athletic director's like, yeah, no, he's good. And then the implication being, make me look good, man. Make me look good. Too much pressure there. Like, you'd almost rather be in Kevin Sumlin's spot. I think no pressure at all. Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM, Nooga Radio, and NoogaRadio.com.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
The charred remains of Logan Kennedy and Catlin Woods, 18 and 19 years old respectively, were found in a home in Bradley County on Sunday. The Highway 58 Volunteer Fire Department put out the house. It was fully engulfed in flames when they arrived on scene, to the point where they couldn't go inside to look for any survivors. By the time the home had been put out and cooled down, they found 2 bodies inside. They've been shipped off to the Hamilton County Medical Examiner's Office to determine the cause of death. The 5 high school football players in Grundy County accused of attempted aggravated rape are going to be placed on house arrest until their next court hearing on November the 15th. 3 of them have lawyers already. 1 had one appointed, and the 5th has asked for time to find a lawyer. The 5 are accused of assaulting a freshman in a field house at 6 o'clock a.m. on Monday. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7. Now.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News. NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at NoogaRadio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
Goss Insurance. Yes, we are local. And no, we don't have an 800 number. In fact, our mobile numbers are on our business cards. We live, work, play, and worship in Chattanooga, and we would love to help with your insurance. Business, auto, home, life insurance. Call now, save money. Call Goss Insurance for all your insurance needs. Goss Insurance, 875-2500. 875-2500.
Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM and 95.3 HD4. News Talk Nooga Radio.
Look, I got to give the kid some credit. Jared Garantano is eager for the test at Alabama. Those are his words, not mine. He wants the challenge. He embraces the challenge. And there's something about a young guy that is embracing the challenge and embracing the adversity of his situation and wanting to do so. I mean, that says a whole lot about him, and it says a whole lot about his character. But it also says Jerry Garantano doesn't really have a whole lot of pressure on him, though. I promise you right now, Butch Jones is not eager for the challenge of Alabama. That anybody who stands to lose their job over what is about to happen this Saturday, and it is going to be a beating of biblical proportions. Biblical proportions. Nobody that stands to lose their job over this is going to be thrilled for this challenge. Right? I might be thrilled for the challenge of fighting somebody my size, right? Because it's a challenge to fight people, I mean, just generally, especially if you're not a fighter, which I am not. I am not thrilled for the challenge of fighting Shaq. You understand? Because he would destroy me, right? I'm not thrilled for the challenge of fighting, I don't know, Ronda Rousey or somebody. Like, I'm not thrilled for the challenge of fighting an actual fighter, someone who would just house me in 10 seconds, and that's that. Not thrilled about it. That's not thrilling. Because I have something to lose if I go out there and fight myself. Right? Which is that I might get my behind beat. That might happen. I got something to lose. Jared Garantano, as much as he is up for the challenge, and as much as this says, you know what? I don't even know to be afraid of Alabama right now, which might work in his favor. You also got nothing to lose, man. Like, if you show up and Alabama waxes you, that is particularly what we thought would happen anyway. Got nothing to lose. Now, you're Alabama. You're just not losing this game. I'm sorry. Like, I haven't seen anything out of Tennessee's offense. Nothing. Nothing that says this is a football team that can even put up a fight. Because where would it have been against Georgia? Georgia's a more beatable team for Tennessee than is Alabama. I don't see it. This is a football team that their defense is solid, but they don't defend the run as well as they defend the pass, and Alabama will just run you to death. And this is a football team that cannot score points. Cannot score points. And I'm looking, and I'm going, this is about to be embarrassing, because there are teams that have scored points on Alabama that we knew weren't going to beat Alabama. Like Colorado State put up points on Alabama. You think Tennessee's going to put up points on Alabama? And what does that say about Tennessee as compared to Colorado State if they can't put up points on Alabama? This is not about to be good. My question is, do you even watch the game on Saturday? I don't know. Like, you want to be excited about Alabama week, but how can you be excited about this? What's so exciting about this? And this is the CBS game of the week. And I don't know how they flex out of this one. Or if they ever could have. Because there had to be a point where you saw this game coming up on the schedule and you went, ooh, not them. This is not about to be a good game. Is this a game that you think a national audience is going to want to sit down and watch? Tennessee just getting clocked by Alabama? Because this is not fun. Right? Like, you've got some other games on Saturday. They're going to be LSU and Ole Miss. That's more fun. I still think LSU beats Ole Miss pretty bad, but that's more fun. So Auburn and Arkansas. I think Auburn beats Arkansas pretty bad, but that's more fun. Arkansas might actually score. Missouri versus Idaho would probably not be more fun. Might actually not be, but it might not be as lopsided. I don't know why this is the game of the week, but like, what else do you do? Kentucky and Mississippi State would be much more fun. That game might actually be entertaining. I don't know what to make of Tennessee, Alabama on CBS at 3:30. That's the game of the day. You are televising slaughter as the game of the day. And how do you justify that? How do you justify it? Because I don't see it. And I'm not sure what else you do there. I don't know what you do there. Watch with Keon Rose on Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com. So your Texas A&M, just shift gears here over to the Aggies real quick, because Nick Starkel is set to return to the Aggies as backup quarterback, right? Nick Starkel was the starter that began the season. He's now the number 2 quarterback. Kellen Mond has taken the job, and quite frankly, it doesn't look like he's giving it back. And deservedly so. You could even argue that Kellen Mond is the quarterback for the UCLA game. They probably don't even blow that lead. Maybe they don't. Hard to tell. Maybe they don't. But you're Texas A&M, and you've got Kellen Mond. That's not a bad place to be, to have your quarterback depth back. Because we've seen what's happened to Georgia here. Georgia lost Jacob Easton early, has Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm is playing really good football. He isn't playing lights out football, but I think that he could if you asked him to. He just doesn't need to. You just don't need a stellar Jake Fromm performance. And you could argue you would never have needed a stellar Jacob Eason performance, but now you've just got depth at that position. And it's more important than you might think. And when you look at the teams that you would see as actually good, most of those teams are pretty deep at quarterback, right? You look at Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, LSU, Texas A&M. It's Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M with the quarterback depth, right? Like Auburn and LSU are exceptions, but LSU is an exception because the best quarterback that they have available is not a great quarterback. And Auburn's just got Stidham, right? Like if they don't have Stidham, I feel like against the bad team, they could still win. But let's be honest, that offense circles around the fact in general that they have a guy that can throw the ball and also is very mobile in a Gus Malzahn system. And Gus is starting to actually enjoy figuring out things to do with Jarrett Stidham. He's starting to actually enjoy it. So you get Nick Starkel back. It's only good news if you're Texas A&M. Right? Like no quarterback controversy there. Kellen Mond has played more than good enough to justify being the starter. Which I think works out. I do. Touch with Keon Rose on Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com. So I saw an article that I thought bothered me a little bit. And it was about Al Michaels. Al Michaels made a joke during Sunday Night Football. It was the Harvey Weinstein joke. It was a bad joke. It was a very bad joke, right? Al Michaels said that Eli Manning had a worse week than Harvey Weinstein. I actually thought it was funny, but it was a bad joke. It was in poor taste. And Al Michaels apologized. My problem here is that we had to make Al Michaels apologize for a joke that the timing of which is what makes that joke really bad, right? And that people were hurt by Harvey Weinstein, and that joke on some level does make light of their pain. But it was a joke. And it's possible for me to take what I say with a grain of salt. It's possible to me that because I also talk for a living, that I tend to understand people who talk for a living a little bit better. But you make a lot of jokes in your life when you're on the air broadcasting. You're not always going to make great jokes. I didn't think Al, and the way the headlines of the joke read, Al Michaels with an absolutely cringe-worthy joke. The joke was horrible. And it's like, no, the joke wasn't good. Right? Would not have been my first choice. But Al Michaels was not being racist or sexist or homophobic or any particular kind of bigot. Al Michaels didn't let Harvey Weinstein off the hook. He didn't praise Harvey Weinstein. And Harvey Weinstein did have a bad week. And the humor there could be argued that Eli Manning had nearly as bad a week. Nearly as bad a week. You could make that argument. The joke works, right? But I get hung up on speech and free speech a lot, right? If NBC wanted to reprimand Al Michaels for what he said, they have every right to as his employer. Where I get hung up is where just fans, just average, regular people find themselves incredibly hung up on what it is that somebody said when they could just let it go. Like, we just have gotten into this space now. And I understand that we have a lot of racial tension and a lot of these issues that are coming up to the surface in America right now, where we do have to worry about speech, right? Like, players want to protest and you worry about, well, are they protesting at the right time? But that's somebody else's speech. Try not to concern yourself so hard with somebody else's speech. If you've got two options when somebody does something speech-wise, right? One option is try to hear what they have to say or don't. Those are the only two options, right? When you get to the position where you're trying to micromanage when and where a person ought to protest and how, you're in bad territory for America. And I would say the same thing for Al Michaels, even though this is not a protest and Al Michaels wasn't saying anything of any particular worth. And like I said, it's a bad joke. It makes light of the pain of others. But are we going to get into the process of what Al Michaels should say, how and where and when? I don't like getting into this business of managing somebody else's speech, right? Now, yeah, you heard the joke, you cringed a little bit, and you felt like saying that and expressing that, fine, I guess. But you start calling for the job of Al Michaels because he made a bad joke. And that is a slippery slope I don't like, personally. I think people should be able to say whatever they want. And then how it is that we combat that is with dialogue. We combat somebody else's bad opinions or their bad jokes or whatever. We combat that stuff by having a conversation about it, by actually talking about it, by using words to disagree. Stop trying to fight everybody's words by shutting them down. Yes, even the words of people you don't agree with. Even if the words that they say are hurtful to you, then explain why it hurt, right? I don't have a problem with people just saying, hey, Al Michaels, boy, that was a bad one. But I also have some empathy for Al Michaels, too, because, I mean, you talk so much. You sit in front of a microphone and you just say a bunch of stuff week after week after week after week for your whole life. Al Michaels has been doing play-by-play for so long, I don't remember. And because I was not alive when Al Michaels started doing play-by-play, okay? You're going to say some stuff that misses. Every comedian has to deal with this. You say so many things. You're going to say some stuff that misses. You're gonna say some things that don't hit, don't land, don't connect. And you can't just manage the speech of the person that says something that didn't land. If you disagree with it, disagree with words. Fight words with words. You cannot shut down everybody with whom you disagree. Right? So there's this idea like, oh, yeah, no, they should fire Al Michaels because he made a Harvey Weinstein joke. Like, again, joke in poor taste. It's not a good joke. I can definitely acknowledge that. That's not a great joke. But are we going to shut down Al Michaels over a joke? Have we lost our minds? Have we actually lost them? You can't manage people's speech, right? And in fact, this actually reminds me of another article I read today. It was a column on CBS Sports, and I think it was. I don't even want to say the name of the person because I don't want to say the wrong person wrote this column. But it was on CBS Sports, and it was a column about LeBron James. And LeBron James, the columnist was suggesting that LeBron James, if LeBron James were truly brave and truly courageous and truly cared about these causes that he trumpets and that all the NFL players that LeBron has supported, that LeBron James would take a knee during the national anthem. That would be the brave thing for LeBron James to do. And this is the sanctimoniousness of the media. If LeBron James wanted to take a knee, because the NBA season starts tomorrow night, Cavs are one of the opening teams. If LeBron James wanted to take a knee, I would support him in that act. If LeBron James felt like the best course of action was, in fact, not to take a knee, I would support him in that too. What I don't support is just some guy trying to decide for LeBron what would be the most courageous and bravest thing for him to do. Now you're managing his speech in the other direction. And how does that make any sense? What are you doing? As though you were the final authority and word on what would be the most brave and courageous thing to do. LeBron James plays in a league where it is against the rules for him to take a knee. Would it be brave for him to do that? Would it be courageous for him to take the knee? Maybe. But an NBA player's platform is not the same as a football player's platform. Right? Like LeBron James gets to talk about racism, and by and large, LeBron James gets heard in a way that a lot of athletes don't get heard. So LeBron James may not find it necessary to take a knee. Maybe that means something symbolically, but maybe it doesn't. And how are you going to sit there and decide that for somebody else? How are you going to decide that for LeBron? This is my problem with a group of people that we refer to as social justice warriors, right? Because I am pro-social justice. But there are some people who just arrive out of Tumblr or wherever it is that they fall out of, just show up and want to defend an entire group of people by restricting the actions of the individual. And that makes no sense. Because groups don't suffer. Individuals do. And you have to take time to understand individuals. You cannot tell somebody just, hey, you know, it'd be really brave of you if you put your career and livelihood at risk, right? It goes back to the Jared Garantano thing I was saying about Tennessee. The Jared Garantano, the young man, I like him. He's very much enthused with the idea of playing Alabama. He's up for the challenge. But it's Butch Jones whose career is at risk if Alabama comes in on the steamroller and flattens him, right? Butch is the one that's taking the shot. Jared might feel brave. He might try and fit some passes into windows that maybe he can't. Butch is the one that's going to take the hit no matter what the players do. So it's easy to be up for the challenge when it's somebody else's neck on the line. It's easy to tell LeBron James what would be courageous for LeBron James when it's LeBron James's neck on the line. Speak for yourself. Don't speak for other people. Don't try and decide what would and would not be courageous for other people. The writer is Bill Ryder, by the way, which is a great journalist name. And I've read a lot of things from Bill. I don't agree with him here. I don't agree with him here at all. With all due respect to Bill Ryder is not black and does not know what effect that would have to anybody who is black. So LeBron James leading a league-wide protest might have some positive effect. It might not. And the person who gets to decide whether or not it would, whether or not it would be worth the risk, whether or not that would ingratiate him or alienate him and his point from other people, is ultimately LeBron James. How much courage that takes, that decision should be LeBron James. Deciding whether or not that makes the kind of statement that Bill Ryder assumes that it would make should be LeBron James. LeBron should be the one to decide what he does, how he expresses himself. And it's awfully pretentious. I mean, just at the height of pretension to assume somehow that LeBron James owes this to other protesters. He doesn't. Not if he doesn't want to. Totally absurd. I mean, it's beyond insane at this point. I mean, that's crazy. And that's the way, that's where we have gone with this, which is that we want so badly for people to accept the actions of protesters, whose actions are, by the way, not ever accepted when they first start to do it anyway. That you're going to tell a person that they should protest, how they should protest, when they should protest, and what it would mean. Like, only a sports writer would ever think that. And I have a lot of respect for sports writers, but only a sports writer would ever come to that conclusion. Right? Tyranny on the left and right, man. Left and right. Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM, Nooga Radio, and NoogaRadio.com. Thanks for listening. And remember, folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
The charred remains of Logan Kennedy and Catlin Woods, 18 and 19 years old respectively, were found in a home in Bradley County on Sunday. The Highway 58 Volunteer Fire Department put out the house. It was fully engulfed in flames when they arrived on scene, to the point where they couldn't go inside to look for any survivors. By the time the home had been put out and cooled down, they found 2 bodies inside. They've been shipped off to the Hamilton County Medical Examiner's Office to determine the cause of death. The 5 high school football players in Grundy County accused of attempted aggravated rape are going to be placed on house arrest until their next court hearing on November the 15th. 3 of them have lawyers already. 1 had one appointed, and the 5th has asked for time to find a lawyer. The 5 are accused of assaulting a freshman in a field house at 6 o'clock a.m. on Monday. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7. Now.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
Power Hour News at noon and 9 being brought to you by Greg's Sandwich Works, featuring the best cuts of meats for your sandwich. Greg's Super Spuds, wraps in the most delicious salads in Chattanooga. Greg's Sandwich Works, 6337 East Brainerd Road, Chattanooga.
As an independent agent, Goss represents more than 50 of the leading companies. Goss does the shopping and you save. Goss Insurance for your auto, business, home, and life insurance. 875-2500. Gossip Insurance.
Hey, dude, check this out. Have you ever seen one so big?
Whoa, look at the size of that.
Look at this little itty-bitty one.
Wow, that's really small.
They have them big, small, and everything in between. You'll always find the biggest variety of knives at the knife shop at Frost Cutlery in Ottawa. We're talking about over 40 brands of knives, including Benchmade, WR Case & Sons, Booker, and all the Frost Cutlery brands. Now, Sam, you've been to the cutlery shop. Is it amazing?
Spectacular. The knife shop at Frost Cutlery in Ottawa. They have knives, swords, kitchen knives, ammo, and reloading supplies, plus survival gear.
It's the knife shop at Frost Cutlery, open 7 days a week. Hey, girls, you're going to love this. We're going to the knife shop. Hey, let's not tell them they have ammo and loading supplies. The knife shop at Frost Cutlery opens 7 days a week. You'll always find the biggest variety of knives. You're going to love the knife shop at Frost Cutlery in Ottawa. The knife shop.
And tell them David Tulis sent you.